Hello viewers, I am Parveen. Today I am before you with another episode of my editorial which pertains to the very important imperative topic uh, that I have displayed on my screen also, that today's topic is with respect to the ministers, the government, what government should do, what ministers should do, which constitutes the government ultimately. So, this is my topic. At the end, I will leave it to you to decide according to your own wisdom what I stated is true or not true. This you have to decide according to your wisdom. Now, we all know that our country is a constitutional nation, which means that this nation is governed as per the constitution and not by our own caprices and whims, not by our own volitions. We have to govern the nation, and that governance must be consistent with the constitutional principles. Because deviation may bring distract in the national governance. The whole system of governance is very well described in our constitution. For example, we we have president, we have council of ministers with prime minister, we have legislature with bicameral system, that is two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and similarly in the state assemblies we have bicameral system, uh, legislative councils and state legislative assemblies. Then we have governors who are appointed in the states. They represent the president, they are representatives of the president. Then we have a judicial system with Supreme Court, high courts, then subordinate courts. What I mean to say is that our system of governance is well defined, described in the Constitution of India. If you go through the Constitution, if you read the Constitution, which is a worth reading document for every citizen of this country, but unfortunately, we don't read it, we don't understand it. This is the problem. This is where the problem emanates. So, because we don't know about the constitution, so we don't know how the government should behave, how the government should function. Our 1 point program is only to focus on uh, vote. that we have to vote to this party, we have to vote to that party. We never focus then that when you vote, your representative jumps into another party. You never focus on that, which is breach of your trust. But you never focus because you don't know what is the constitution is. That is the problem. And this problem stands not with the uneducated people only, but with the well versed educated people also. They are equally are not aware about the constitutional principles. So today I'm trying to focus on that when you vote somebody, when you elect the government, then how that government should behave, what the ministers should do. Should they do what they are doing presently, or they should do something else other than what they are doing now? This you can come to know only if you are if you at least know about your constitution and its provisions, or at least its basic understanding that what constitution is for. Now, we all know that president is head of the executive, head of the executive president, and how the president exercises its powers. President exercise its powers through the council of ministers. This is why there is a council of ministers which is popularly elected. You vote for this council and then they come and form the council of ministers. Prime minister is the head of this council of ministers, and on the advice of the prime minister, president elects the ministers. So this together it forms your government. This is the government. Council of ministers with prime minister. This is the government with uh, president as its titular head. He is only a nominal head of the state. All the functions are done by the council of ministers. Though president works functions on the advice of the council of ministers, president can direct the council of ministers to reconsider their advice. And this is a sort of formality and nothing else. Basically, it is the council of ministers which exercise the whole power. This is the council in which the huge power of the voters who votes for them vests. This perhaps you don't know that this power which council of ministers is enjoying, it has come to them when you elected them through your votes. This you must understand. Now, before they hold the office, this is very important for you. What is the what is that exercise which constitution imposed upon them? Before they take the seat, they have to undergone the oath process constitutionally according to the Article 75 and third schedule of the Constitution. Now, I'm trying to make you understand that once the ministry is appointed in the council, then what is his duty, which you must know as a voter, as a citizen. Their duty is not, and do they perform according to the, you must know, do they perform according to the oath they affirm, they take before assuming the office? This you must know. This is where I am pinpointing. My target is this, my focus is this. This is imperative for all of you, for me, for everyone. Ministers don't perform their duties only when the masses, the voters, are not aware that what their duties are according to the constitution. This is the problem, that we are not progressing at the pace at which we should have been. So I will take you first to Article 75 to make it clear. Soon it will, the green will display on your this. Yes, you can see this. Now, just have a look on this article. This is Article 75 of the Constitution of India. What it says other provisions as to ministers. Number one, the Prime Minister shall be appointed by the President, and the other ministers shall be appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. This is number one. Number two, the minister shall hold office during the pleasure of the President. You forgot about this. The Council of Ministers, this is very important. The Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the House of the people. This is very important. Before a minister enters upon his office, the president shall administer to him the oaths of the office and of secrecy according to the forms set out for the purpose in the third schedule. Fifth is a minister who, for any period of 6 consecutive months, is not a member of either House of Parliament, shall, at the expiration of that period, ceases to be a minister. This is not important also. The salary part is also not important. I will focus on two parts only of this constitution, that uh, the Council of Part 3 and Part 4, Subclass 3 and Subclass 4. The Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the House of the People. Uh, I will take you to the schedule later after explaining these two सब क्लासेस टू यू. ये पहले मैं दो क्लासेस आपको पढ़ना चाहता हूँ, बताना चाहता हूँ कि जो सेकंड क्लास है, थर्ड क्लास, the council of ministers shall be collectively responsible to the house of the people. Now, which house this article is referring to? This is the same house, house of the people, Lok Sabha, where the voters have voted to their representatives and they have entered into this house of people, Lok Sabha, to represent your interest. जिन लोगों को आपने वोट देकर अपने 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 एरियाज के जो आपके रिप्रेजेंटेटिव थे, जिनके साथ आपकी आइडियोलॉजी मिलती थी, उनको आपने वोट दिया और वो चुनकर एमपी बन गए, मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट बन गए और वो सीधे चले गए हाउस ऑफ पीपल में, जो लोकसभा है. वहां पे जाकर इनका क्या काम है? वहां पे जाकर इनका ये काम है कि ये जो आपके इंटरेस्ट हैं, जो आपके राइट्स हैं, जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने दिए हुए हैं, जो लीगल, जो स्टैट्यूटरी प्रोविजंस ने आपको राइट्स दिए हुए हैं, जो टाइम टू टाइम लॉस बनते हैं, वो उन इंटरेस्ट्स को वो वहां पे प्रोटेक्ट करें और आपकी प्रोग्रेस के ऊपर फोकस करें. यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस? व्हाट इट मीन्स when you vote a certain person as your representative who will represent you and your interests in the Lok Sabha, in the House of the People, when he becomes the MP, then that voted and elected person goes and sit in the House of People, the Lok Sabha, and there he represents, he uh, he represents your interests, he protects your rights. Which rights? The rights which the constitution has conferred upon you, upon every citizen, your fundamental rights, your statutory rights, which law-making bodies legislate from time to time, make laws that confers certain rights, certain interests upon you. It is the duty of these elected, your representatives, to protect them. Whether this duty is performed, you have to assess this. When you vote on certain objects, on certain targets. that we are voting to this person and he will work for our progress. Now you have to assess after they are elected, after they become MPs, ministers, whether they work to your interests or not. It is for you to judge. If they don't, then you can ask them, you can question them, and you can hold them responsible, and you can change them during the next elections. But this you can do only if you are well aware. If you don't fear, don't scare, only then. So here this clause I'm interpreting in two ways, because your minister is MP also. First he is MP, then he is minister. Therefore, both way, they are collectively responsible to the House of the People. Whatever they do as a minister, as the ministers, they become responsible collectively to the House of the People. And today we see in the House of the People what happens. There are no debates, no discussions, just you will see clamor, vociferance. So today, the question of collective responsible seems to be not on the forefront. Because when your house does not sit, when your house does not work, when your houses are adjourned, sign, die, then where is the question of collective responsibility uh, arises? Because if there are regular, undisturbed debates in the house of both in both houses of the parliament or the state assemblies, there will be questioning, there will be cross-examining, and such things makes the council of ministers responsible as well as efficient. The house has the capacity to control. So this is the importance of this clause, subclause 3 of Article 75. Whatever ministers, council of ministers do, if it does not meet out the principles of constitution, they can be well held responsible in the House of the People. This is the importance. Now, coming to the clause 4, this is very important also. Before a minister enters upon his office, the president shall administer to him the oaths of office and of secrecy according to the forms set out for the purpose in the third schedule. So, in Article 75, these two clauses are very, very important, substantive, imperative, for the citizens to know. First, I discussed about the collective responsibility, which means that whatever the Council of Ministers does, they are responsible for that before the House of the People. Then, before they assume the office of the such responsible of offices, the president administer them the oath of office. Now, what is that oath of office? That format, that form is set out in third schedule of the Constitution of India, where I am taking you now to. Just give me a while. I will take you to third schedule. Now, this is coming on your screen. Yes, this is the third schedule. This is the third schedule. Now, this is the form of oath of office for a minister for the union. For union minister, this oath is imperative before they assume the office of minister. Similarly for the state also, similar for the president also, similar for the Supreme Court judge also. But here we are concerned about the minister's oath. Now I will read out the format. What is that oath is? I, then the minister's name, do that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as a minister for the Union, and that I will do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. Second part is I do that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person or persons any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become to me uh, known to me known to me as a minister for the union, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as such minister. So these are the two parts of the oath which I just read before you. Now you have observed when I was reading that this oath sets faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India. What it means? It means that our Council of Ministers, or for that matter, the Minister, Union or the State Minister, he owes his allegiance and faith to the Constitution of India, which means that whatever system has been provided in the Constitution, we have to adhere to that system, we have to follow that system, we have to follow the principles, the tenets, what the Constitution has laid. We cannot deviate from it forward to meet our own individual choices or personal choices, or to meet out any ulterior motive. We have to stick to confined to the constitutional principles as a minister, as a council of minister. Because we are governing the state, we are governing the nation in which there are more than billion people. You are looking, your job, your duty is to look after their needs, to protect their interests, to protect their rights, rights of the minorities, rights of the majorities, criminal justice system, courts, economy, the employment, food, education, preventing concentration of wealth. It's the duty. Constitution does not allow concentration of wealth. It is the duty of the minister, the council of ministers, to see that wealth should not go to a few people at the cost of millions and millions of people. Because if we permit the concentration of wealth, if we allow stashing the wealth, the one huge chunk of population will remain under poverty. You will not be, the government will not be in a position to alleviate poverty because it needs wealth. And this is why it is the constitutional mandate that wealth should not be concentrated. ये आपको अंडरस्टैंड करना है कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर बहुत सी ड्यूटी दी हुई हैं, फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज भी गवर्नमेंट की हैं। जैसे सिटीजन्स की फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज हैं, ऐसे गवर्नमेंट की भी फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज हैं। बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट जो लोग गवर्न कर रहे हैं, दे आर फर्स्ट द सिटीजन्स, देन द गवर्नमेंट। सो फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज आर equitably applies to both the people in the government and to the people out of the government. You must bear this in your mind. Then Directive Part 4 of the Constitution of India, Directive Principles, which says there should be no concentration of wealth, which talk about the welfare of the people, which talk about not to discriminate, which talk about the minorities, which talk about the international peace and unity. So we have to stick to strictly stick to the constitutional principles. Only then we can have अच्छे दिन, which we proclaim. अच्छे दिन तभी हो सकते हैं जब आप कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के प्रोविजन को फॉलो करो, उसके मुताबिक आप मुल्क की गवर्नेंस करो, तो अच्छे दिन नेचुरली अपने आप विल फॉलो. But if you deviate, if you distract clandestinely from the constitutional principles, its effects, its tremor will be felt by the citizens of that country, of the country. So it is important, as per according to this oath, that they have no scope, they have no choice to distract from the constitutional principles as a council of ministers, as a minister, as a prime minister. The people must understand this. This is the oath. You go, I request and treat everybody, every citizen. You just read out these things for your benefit, for the benefit of your generations. There is no scope to remain ignorant about the constitutional provisions. So, this was the oath uh, which a president of the country administers to the ministers, to all the council of ministers, which includes the prime minister, under Article 75(4). So keep this into your mind. Okay, these are the things the ministers, the council of ministers, whether in the state or in the union, has to do. They has to do what constitution says. Constitution say that there should be no concentration of wealth. The council of ministers, the government should endeavor towards that, to prevent that concentration of wealth. I take you to some other example in part 4 of the constitution. The directive principle, which lays down the provisions of directive principles, that what this this is just one illustration which I will put forth before you people. This is Article 38. I just a while ago I told you about the oath. Okay, what that oath means to a minister, to the public. That oath means to the public that your minister should adhere to the constitutional provisions, because he is asserting his allegiance to the constitution, faith in the constitution. Therefore, it is imperative that he should remain strict to the constitutional principles and not deviate from it. because slight deviation from the constitutional provisions may bring distractions in the society, in the governance of the nation. Now, this is another illustration which I want to bring forth to you. Article 38 of the Constitution of India says, state to secure a social order for the promotion of welfare of the people. Clause 1, the state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people by securing and protecting as effectively as it may a social order in which justice, social, economic, and political shall inform all the institutions of the national life. The state shall in particular strive to minimize the inequalities in income and endeavor to eliminate inequalities in status, facilities, and opportunities, not only amongst individuals but also amongst groups of people residing in different areas or engaged in different vocations. Now, perhaps you people have never read about this article. First, we must know what are the directive principles of state policy. This is one of the part 4 lays down the directive principles of state policies. These are the mandatory directions to the government of the time. That their policies should based on these directives as far as possible, meaning thereby 99% the government's policies should be in consonance with the principles of directive principles of state policies as laid down in chapter 4 of the Constitution of India. This is one of the directive principles. Know what it says? Okay, this is the duty of the government to promote welfare of the people and social order. Second part says it is mandate of the constitution that to minimize the inequalities in income, and further says to eliminate inequalities of status, facilities, opportunities. Now, now you can observe, keeping in front the provisions of this article, and then also keep in mind the oath which the Council of Ministers have taken. Then see on the ground what is happening. Whether government is trying to minimize the inequalities in income or not. I will take just this part of this article only. You you just see कि क्या जो गवर्नमेंट है, आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेल यू what the ministers should do for you. Ministers means the council of ministers, the government of the day, which has been constituted by you through your power of vote. The आपने देखना है कि जो आर्टिकल 38 कह रहा है कि गवर्नमेंट के लिए ये मैंडेट है, इट इज अ डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ द स्टेट पॉलिसी. It should be a principle of the government, the state policy, that the government should minimize the inequalities in income. Whether this is happening, can you guess as a citizen, as a voter, whether the government is following this principle, constitutional principle mandate, or not? Who will assess it? It is the people who will do it, who will assess it. It is the media persons. It is the media, because media acts as fourth pillar of the democracy. Information flows to you through media. Whether media is fulfilling its obligations towards you while acting as fourth pillar of the democracy, it is you, the people of India, who has to assess this. Because if media will not tell you anything regarding this, you will not come to know what is happening in the government, what is government is doing. You will never come to know. So at present, media has stopped fulfilling its obligations towards you. They are not telling you what the government is doing. So media is over. You switch to any channel, you will not find any such information. So in how the inequalities in income can be minimized, what is the modus operandi, what is the method to minimize? It is not necessary to be economist or to be a chief economist. It is a very simple formula. You don't need to be graduate or postgraduate or PhD holder in economics. The resources, the wealth, what is that simple formula? That simple formula is your wisdom. If you have 10 rupees and you have 5 members in your family to feed on those 10 rupees, and the karta of the family who is responsible to feed his family, to look after the needs of his family, if he eats away those that 10 rupees himself, then what will be the fate of your family? They will starve. But if the same karta, if he distributes those 10 rupees amongst his family, nobody will starve. Everyone will have its own stake. This is what the distributive justice is. Each individual in distributive justice, each individual should get his due. Nobody should starve. Nobody should be without education. Nobody should be without cloth. Nobody should be without a house, even if it has a one room. By illustrating this, I mean that wealth of your nation, if equitably should be distributed, then only it is possible that we as a government will be in a position to minimize inequalities in income. Otherwise, there is no scope to minimize it. Whether this is happening in our country, don't you think that the process of this, you just see the employment rate in our country, there is huge unemployment. Then how the how there will be minimization of the inequalities in income when you will have no job, you will have no work to do. The process of privatization, absolute, giving everything in the hands of the private super wealthy people, how it will reduce your concentration of wealth, as Article 39 says, there should be no concentration of wealth. So these are the checks which you can know, aware only, or you can push only if you are well aware with the constitutional provisions. This is why I emphasize on the awareness of constitution and not a mere vote policy. We just vote. We vote on the basis I don't think so ever we have voted on the principles of development, on the constitutional principles. Our people have ever voted. We have, in our society, we have created vote banks. Someone voting on some, almost we vote on non-issues. In nutshell, I will say, we all vote on non-issues. We never vote on issues. We have no issue of employment. We have no issue of alleviation of poverty. We have no issue uh, with respect to uh, equality, with respect to generation of jobs. We almost vote on non-issues. And a country whose people vote on non-issues, how can there be a scope for their own progress, for their own development? No, not at all. So, this is a very long topic which may take a lot of time, but concisely I wanted to convey that what is the job of the ministers? There is, they don't have this, constitutional has not enjoined upon them to do those things which they are not entitled to do. Their sole job is to follow the constitutional principles, take the country to the towards progress, its people towards progress, create jobs for the people, create harmony among the people, create security, safety for the people. This is what the job of the government is. But not talking on non-issues. Economic growth. If you will have economic growth, there will be more and more goods and services in this in the country, and more jobs generation will be there. So this is the job, this is the duty of the council of ministers, the government, which people must know, which people must question. The media should question. You can question the people in power only. You cannot question the people who are not in power. Like me, I am not in power. If you will question me, what I will do? Nothing. But if I am a minister and if you question me, I will be responsible. As I have said you in Article 75, that my act is responsible to the House of the People because I am elected member. People have elected me. But if I am nothing, I am not in power, then how you can hold me responsible for anything? And this is what actually happening on the ground. So I will conclude my this editorial topic today. Hope you will appreciate this. This topic will editorial will remain available on our website, the openview.in news website. Then our YouTube channel, news channel, the OpenView, the OpenView Facebook page, where I am doing my live this broadcast. After this, you can watch this episode there. Uh, with this, I will conclude my topic. Thank you very much. Have a good day.